Welcome back to Wonder Dream Podcast. This is episode 6. In the last episode, I went through a lot of relationship advice, obviously, because on the forums I was asking about it quite a lot. So I hope you took on advice of what I said in the last podcast, and I hope it's helped you as well. Especially Adam, that I saw in the forums. I hope it's helped you a lot, and you've taken on board some of the stuff. Not all of it, like I said. Some of it, don't go on. I don't bang on about it. But for this podcast, I'm going to go through the supernatural, aliens, and all that stuff. I'm going to delve into a bit of supernatural things, personal experiences I've seen with spirits and all that, and I'm going to read out some of the forums as well, and give you a little bit of advice, because I know some of you said, oh, this is happening in the house, is this a spirit, is this a ghost? I'll look for them all, and I'll try my best, because obviously, like I said, I'll go off my own personal experiences. I'll go through it a little bit and say what to do and don't do, and if you need to go to the priest to get your house blessed or whatnot. So I'll start off with my personal experience, and then I will jump into the forums and I'll have a look and see what has been said on that. So my personal experiences with the supernatural started when I was really young. My mum told me this. When I was really young, I used to have this ghost thing. I don't know if it was a guardian angel or something. That I used to talk to it quite a lot for hours on end. I used to just sit there and talk to it and interact with it. My mum thought at first it might have been an imaginary friend, because obviously kids normally, when they are really young, they do get these imaginary friends. But no, it was an actual ghost, because of things that were happening, and things were being moved or whatnot. So my mum knew instantly it was a ghost. But also we had a poltergeist in the house. This is interesting. This shocked me. When my mum told me about all this, she documented it all, and she had to end up going to the church through a priest afterwards to get the house blessed. Basically, we had a poltergeist in the house. It used to hide things. I know one time it used to hide the keys to the door and the keys to the window, so we actually couldn't get out of the house. It tried trapping us in the house. It used to throw things around the house. Apparently my toys when I was younger, it used to throw stuff around the place. And there were one time when my grandma, I think my auntie were around as well, they were sat on the couch, and it literally tried picking up the couch with my mum and my grandma on the couch. It tried picking them up. I was shocked when I said that. I was like, wow, really? Yeah. And we knew instantly, my mum knew instantly, because we had a cat that used to just sit at the bottom of the stairs, and it used to just meow and growl and that, just at random, it was looking at something, and the cat looked really distressed. So usually pets can pick up on stuff like that. So that's how my mum knew instantly it was. And with all the things that were going on, like I said, with the keys being hidden, things being thrown around, me interacting with it, and obviously it in the end it did actually, I think my mum did say that in the end it got that aggressive that it was actually managing to physically harm me, because I can't remember if it was my mum or my grandma that it ended up actually slapping. So because of all of this, my mum went to the church. She went to a priest with all this evidence, because she recorded it all, with things being thrown around, and things disappearing and then appearing in different places. It used to hide the keys. I think my mum put them on the she said that she put them on the counter one time, and it was hidden literally right at the back, at the top of the cupboards, literally hidden right at the back. She actually had to climb up to the back to get to it. So in the end, my mum decided to go to the church to with all this evidence, and the priest apparently said, yeah, you've got a ghost in the house, and she got the house blessed. But in the end, we ended up moving anyway, because it was getting quite aggressive. So, and obviously, after all that, I don't blame why we moved. But also, not just that, there is other experiences that I've experienced. In my grandma and granddad's old house, there used to be a ghost there. When I was younger, and my cousins as well, we didn't go upstairs by ourselves, because it was there at the top of the landing. I do actually remember seeing it at one point. It was there at the top of the landing, and none of us would go up there. I remember myself I wouldn't go up there on my own. I was just scared shitless. I wouldn't go up there. I was only young at the time, but I was scared shitless. I wouldn't go up on my own. I remember one time when I needed the toilet, I'd literally run up there, run into the bathroom, lock the door, and then I'd open the door, because it's like I could sense it where it was, and it's I could I didn't see it as a person. It was like a little orb, So it's like I could sense it. I knew that it was there, and it's like I knew that it was like looking at me. So it's like when I used to like run upstairs to go to the toilet and then like quickly like slam the door and lock it, and then I used to like quietly like open the door and like look round the corners to sit to, like it's like I could sense where it was, and then I'd run downstairs. So, and then there was actually another time when I was in the bigger bedroom. I know, because I used to do Crown Green bowling, because my granddad had this like thing at an association at Greenfields, which is a bowling thing, and so I used to stay around over the weekends or whatnot if we're doing the county matches or the federation matches on a Sunday. So I used to stay around there, and like I said, the one time I went into the bigger bedroom, and I remember being asleep, and then the next minute I feel the quilt moving, and then the quilt just flies off me. I think I was only like 12 at the time. Yeah, the quilt, like I was there, and then I could just like feel like the quilt being tugged, and then the quilt just flew off the bed. And I remember running downstairs, and my grandma was still running downstairs. I was like, I think someone's trying to like harm me. I was like, it was terrible. So yeah, I've experienced that. So I wasn't actually really that much of a believer until I experienced all this stuff. I didn't really like believe in it all. But I did watch The Exorcist when I was younger. My mum, that film I can't watch anymore. That film terrifies me, I'm not gonna lie. That film, I remember when I last went back up, my mum had The Exorcist on, and my mum looked at me like, look what's on. I was like, no. I put my headphones in, put my head down, watching them. I was like, I can't watch this. It scares me shitless, does that film. I don't know what it is about it. It's just that film it's scary. I'm not gonna lie, it terrifies me. I remember when I first watched it, I had nightmares for days. I was only younger. I think I was about 12, 13 when I first watched it. Yeah, it terrified me in that film. So, and another experience which I did have was with don't do this. It was with a Ouija board. I was drinking with my mum. And my stepdad. It was just after my grandma passed away. Well, my stepdad's mum had just like passed away. So we were drunk. I was pretty drunk. My mum was pretty drunk. So I drew out a Ouija board, as you do. It's not an actual Ouija. I drew a paper-based one. So we thought, right, let's do this. So then I got a cup, put it onto the paper, and the Ouija board to act it as a Ouija board, and started asking it questions. Obviously, you were moving it around. We both had our hands on it to, like warm it up to try and like get some like spirits going. And then we warmed it up, and then it started moving. And my mum turned to me and was like, "Are you moving this?" I was like, No. I was like, "Are you moving it?" She was like, No. So it started moving. So we started asking it questions. So it was like tapping like what they say, it's like tapping into the other side and using the Ouija board. So we was using that, asking it questions. And then we'd asked it, it was like, if there's any spirits here, move it, say yes. So it moved it over to the yes. So then we was asking it other questions. And then we asked it if it was actually my stepdad's mum, my grandma. So we asked it was like, "Oh, is that you there?" And it went to yes. And then we were asking it some other questions. So it was like spelling things out. And then all of a sudden it starts moving uncontrollable. It was going left, right. It was oh my god, it was going so fast moving, and it was like spelling these like crazy stuff out, nothing to do with it. So we must have like tapped into some like evil spirit. I don't know what it was. It was just constantly moving so fast. Like at one point it spelled out death, and it spelled out something else, and we was like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden my body just goes cold. I get the chills, my body goes cold. It was like I don't know how to explain it. It's like my entire body just shivers. It was like my hairs on my hands and my legs just like stood up. Like my body was absolutely freezing, and I was just shivering. And I turn around to my mum and I don't feel so good. And then my body starts shaking. And then I remember like collapsing to the floor, having this like seizure-like episode. And then I started like talking in some like other language. Well, this is what my mum said. And then my mum's there like trying to like grab hold of me, like fucking, because literally I was like uncontrollable. It felt like I couldn't like control my own body. It was a weird experience. It's like it's like I wasn't with it. It was like mentally, it's like, you know, I couldn't like control what I was doing. And then from there, after about 5 minutes of me just whoa, I came through. I came through and I said to my mum, I said to my mum, I was like, what's just happened? Because I didn't recall it happening. It was like my mum, she was like, oh, this has happened. I was like, wait, all I recall was my body's going chilly, you know, feeling really cold, and then my hair standing up, and then after that it was just a blur. I was like, what happened? But when it first happened, it literally felt like something was like trying to like take over my body. It was like and then, you know, like after that, my mind just went blank. I just don't like recall anything what happened, you know. And then my mum saying, oh, you were talking a different language. She said she didn't know what language it was. It was some like weird, like old language that no one speaks anymore. It was really bad. And then I remember like for like a good week or so after this happened, I was really ill. I wasn't eating properly. I mentally wasn't right. I didn't feel myself. I felt different. I felt like, you know, I wasn't me. I felt like, you know, I wasn't me. It was really bad. And then I was getting really bad sleep paralysis as well. If you know what that is, that's basically, you know, you wake up, you can't move, you can't talk, you can't do anything, and then you start seeing these like these evil like entities or something. You like, well, they say it's like hallucinating or something, but I think it was down to that Luigi board. Whatever happened then caused all of this, and because I wasn't feeling myself, I wasn't eating properly. You know, I was secluding myself. I didn't feel like myself. I thought it was all down to whatever happened there, like some like evil entity like attached itself to me. It was like the weirdest experience ever. And like I said, I was ill for ages afterwards. And then I did actually end up going to the church because I said to, you know, I went to the priest. I was like, you know, this happened, you know, I'm not feeling like myself, you know, at times it feels like someone's like trying to take over my, you know, my body, like someone's like trying to control it instead of, and you know, it feels like it's not me. So, you know, I told the priest all of this. So he did some like blessing in the church, you know, did some like blessing, just, you know, just to make sure that, you know, I didn't have like anything like attached to me. He was like, well, we'll do this like blessing like thing, to see, you know, to make sure it wasn't. And from there, things just got worse. I had to see a psychologist because I mentally wasn't right. I wasn't feeling like I said, I wasn't feeling like myself. It was like an out of body like experience kind of thing. And, you know, I was mentally, I wasn't right. You know, I wasn't with it. It was really, really bad. And in the end, that's why, you know, I ended up seeing a psychologist, because it mentally, it wasn't right. After a while, it did start to like fade. Eventually, after a while, after like seeing people and mentally, you know, seeing like psychologists and, you know, going to doctors and like seeing other different things. And, you know, in the end, it was, you know, it was like that. But like I said, until all this happened and all this like experiences, I didn't actually believe it until you know, all that happened. You know, word of advice, I wouldn't use a Ouija board after the experience I had and the fact that, you know, I went through all of that. It was just the worst experience ever. People say, you know, Ouija boards are fake. I'm telling you now, they are not fake. If you tap into something on the other side, like I did, and then me being mentally like that, and then, you know, feeling like I said, like I wasn't feeling like myself, you know, I was like, you know, and then the sleep paralysis that happened literally soon afterwards, and all that was happening, and, you know, feeling like I said, like I wasn't feeling like myself, and, you know, I just didn't feel mentally right. And like I said, I was like blacking out, like I was having these like blackout episodes where I just didn't remember certain times of the days, so it felt like, you know, something, like I said, like something was like trying to take over me. And I was having these blackouts. That's why I said I had to see a psychologist and all this, because of it all. And like I said, I ended up going to the church, asking the priest, like, you know, what's up with me? You know, I did like use a Ouija board, and I feel like, you know, it's like an evil entity, something has attached itself to me, which that was actually the case. That was the case in the I had to get blessed and all sorts to, like, you know, try and get rid of it. And for years after that, after all that, and because it mentally like messed me up, I got really bad anxiety from it. I'm still not right from it properly now. I mean, mentally, so like a word of advice, like I said, I wouldn't use one. Do not use a Ouija board. I mean, I've seen a lot of people on these forums, which I read last night. This is where I've done this podcast. Well, I was going to do this one anyway, and people are like, oh, I'm going to use a Ouija. Do not, for the love of God, do not use a Ouija board. Because if, like I said, if you tap into something, it's going to attach to someone that, that's doing the Ouija. Don't do it. For the love of God, do not do it. After my experiences that I had, and like I've just like mentioned, I've gone on about all now, do not use a Ouija board. Stay clear. If you're at a party or something, you're drinking or something, and one of your mates brings it out, run for the hills, get out of that house. I would, after the experience, get out of the house. That's all I'm saying. Do not. I mean, I've seen a lot of forums which, like I said, I read, and people are like, oh, we're going to use it, me and my mates want to use it. Don't, for the love of God, do not do it. I mean, like I said, after my experience and all that, and all the documentation of the fact that I had to see a priest and all this, that do not do it. I'm telling you, it will be, like I said, if you tap into something. And also with a Ouija board, if you don't, you don't say goodbye and that afterwards, which I didn't, then that will bring consequences, which it did to me. Like I've said, if you don't, you say goodbye and all that at the end of using the Ouija board, like most people don't, then that can happen. So like I said, I wasn't a believer of all this until all that experience, and then like I said with the poltergeist, which was in the old house that I used to be in when I was younger, and like I said, with all the documentation my mum did, and then I said that, she had to send it to the priest, and then they had to get the house blessed, and then even the priest wouldn't do it at first. He said because even he said he felt a presence in the house that was evil, and he wasn't going to do a house blessing at first, because that's why that's why my mum, he said right in the end we had to end up moving because it was so bad. I don't know if my mum's actually still got all this footage. Actually, she did give it all into the priest at the church, so I'm not. She probably still does have it somewhere. The church probably still has it, but like I said, yeah, it was bad with things being flown around, flied around, things going missing, it hiding things, and the fact that it was actually managing to physically hurt us. Like I said, yeah, I wasn't a believer. Most people aren't. Like I said, most people don't believe it until you've actually experienced it, which I didn't until all that happened. And then obviously the fact that, like I said, with my grandma and granddad's house, there was a ghost in there. And then, like I said, with those experiences which I did mention, which I've gone through, I didn't believe it all until then. So, like I said, do not. I know I've read through the forums. Do not use a Ouija board. I can't stress that enough. Don't do it. I mean, because I've seen so many documentaries and all this online about people that are using it and then they've got possessed because of it, which I almost did. Like I said, I had to go to freaking church. It mentally messed me up because of all that, which I did mention. Obviously, I still have videos of it because my mum documented it all, because obviously she did that as well, like she did with the house, and then took it into the church. So like I said, don't do it. Don't do it, because I've said this 3 times now, if you tap into something, you're gonna be screwed pretty much. Just don't do it. I mean, there's other things you can do to have fun. You don't need to use a Ouija board just to have fun, just because you're intrigued and you're interested in, will it actually work? Trust me, it will work. It's not fake. If you do it properly, and you tap into something, and like I said, you don't say goodbye at the end of using it, which most people don't, then you're going to tap into something, and then you're going to maybe make the house that you're in haunted, or like I said, the entity could attach to you. If that entity feels that you're not strong enough as a person and it thinks that you're weak, it's going to attach and try taking over you, which a lot of these documentaries that I've watched about it all and all that, this is what happens. And then they end up killing themselves, or because they've been possessed or whatnot. It kills them in the end, because they don't eat a lot and then all this, and then they have to have exorcisms and all this. It just it messes with you mentally. Trust me, it did with me. So like I said, don't use a Ouija board. I can't stress that enough. I've said that so many times now. It's just because of these forums. I was looking through them all after my last podcast, because like I said, I did a relationship advice one after all the podcasts and after all the forums and all the messages that we're getting about it, so that's why I did it. But like I said, don't do it. I mean, if you do it, you're stupid. I mean, I would never do it again. I mean, if I was out or something, you know, at a house party, you know, I was just like having like gathering, just having a couple of beers or whatnot, and someone brought one out, I'd just get out of that house. I'd be like, no, I'm gone. I'm like, no, I've experienced that, and mate, no, I'm gone. So like I said, yeah, don't use it. It's like one of the worst things that you could ever do. Right, I did say I look at some advice now. I've been blabbing on for about 20 minutes now about my experiences. There was a message which I got from, I can't remember what it was called, but it said about, you know, all this stuff that went happening. He said, you know, you were asking me if, you know, you had a ghost in your house. So you did say to me that you were having things that was like disappearing, you know, things were being moved around, and you said that your dog was barking a lot at someone at random. Now, like I said, pets are the first thing to pick up on them. I mean, obviously your dog is concerned about something. If it's just randomly barking constantly at something and there's nothing there is something in your house. I mean, pets are the first thing to pick up on it. Like I said, they pick up on anything supernatural. Pets are the best for it. Well, I'm saying that they're the best for it. I mean, it's not good for the animals because it stresses the pets out. But like I said, yeah, with what you said, you've definitely got a ghost in your house. So hopefully it's not an aggressive one, and it just gets, you know, you just get on with it and just ignore it. But, you know, like I said, if it gets bad, then you need to go to a priest and you need to get your house blessed, mate, because it can only get worse. Like I said, in my in the old house that I was in when I was younger until I was about 12, we had a poltergeist in there, we had a ghost. Like I said, I'm not going to say it all again, I've already said it all. You know, with the experiences that I've had, it's like the worst. And then with the Ouija board and all this is why I believe in it all now. This is why I can't watch, like I said, I can't watch stuff to do with exorcism and all this. I just can't watch it anymore. After the experiences that I've had and the fact that it traumatised me, I just can't watch that stuff anymore. Like I said, you know, watching exorcism film, I just can't do it. It scares me shitless. It gives me really bad anxiety and all watching it. Because, you know, the experiences that I've had and, you know, what I've personally gone through, I just can't do it anymore. So I stray away from that. So, right, I think that's all I'm going to talk about on this, because, you know, I have lengthed on about this. So like I said, I hope you've enjoyed my, you know, just me banging on about my experiences about the supernatural and ghosts and all that. I did want to do one of these because I wasn't interested and I wanted to, you know, get my experiences out there and see, you know, what experiences other people have gone through with, you know, supernatural ghosts, or if you've actually, you know, had an evil entity attached to you something. So like I said, you know, drop me some comments in the comment section, or, you know, message me on the forum. I'll link the forum into the podcast which I've been using, you know, so you can message me on there, you know, your experiences or whatnot, because I'll be interested in, you know, because, you know, I know it's bad to talk about it, but, you know, I'm just interested. I'm kind of like interested in that stuff now, that, you know, tap, you know, all these ghosts and all this after, you know, experiencing it. I know, like I said, it did traumatise me because of everything that happened, but you know, it is an interesting subject now that I believe in it. And, you know, when people are telling me all this, what they're going through, and they're like, oh, I don't feel like myself. I know how it feels. I've personally been through it, and, you know, it's not nice, especially when, you know, you feel like it's trying to take over you, and, you know, you don't feel like yourself, and, you know, you're not eating, and, you know, you feel like, you know, and you get sleep paralysis with it and all. I think it wasn't sleep paralysis. I personally feel that was the evil entity trying to attach itself and trying to take over me, and it wasn't actually sleep paralysis. Well, that's how I personally feel it was. Anyway, after using the Ouija board, so like I said, once again, for like I don't know how many times I said it, do not use a Ouija board. I cannot stress that enough. Again, for like the 5th, 6th, 7th time, or how many times I've said it, just don't do it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Like I said, I've just gone from experiences and all that. I did mention someone that messaged me about their experience, just like, yeah, pets are easy to pick up on it, so you've definitely got something in your house there. So I hope you're enjoying this. The next podcast is going to be about aliens, because I'm really, really interested in this. There's so many different things, you know, that I've read. It's like, oh, is it fake? Is it fiction? Is it real? Is it not real? And, you know, they just like made it up. I'm like a little believer. I've got some experiences which I can tell you about, that I've experienced which are really wacky and weird. So I think the next podcast I'm going to go through that. So it's going to be more about aliens and like, are they real? Are they not real? I'll link it in with other stuff. So that will be the next podcast. So like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast and you've listened to the end of it, because I know it's been another lengthy podcast. They're probably all going to be all lengthy now, because you know there's so much that I want to talk about, the topics of each podcast that I want to do, because there's quite a few. Like I said, the next one's going to be about aliens. I've got another podcast about like something else, which that's going to be another lengthy podcast, which will be the one after this one. So once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will hopefully read some more forums. See, you know, if there's any like topics or whatnot you want me to like podcast about, just, you know, drop me a message, and I'll do a podcast on it. And then if it's something that, you know, I've personally experienced, I can go through my experiences and all that, and just like talk about it, because you know this is what I'm interested in. This is why I wanted to do a podcast. I didn't just want to do it on like different subjects. I wanted to do it like on personal subjects. You know, I wanted to like mix it up a little bit, instead of just keeping it to film and media related. I wanted to like mix it up with like different things. Like I've done here, I did one about relationship advice. I've just done one about the supernatural. I'm doing one about aliens. I just want to like mix it up a little bit. You know, keep it interesting instead of just keeping it boring. And you know, I just want to like spice things up a little bit. So I think that's what I'm going to do with the podcast now. And like I said, I'm going to do more than one a week. I think there's going to be 3. I think this is the second or third one that is going up this week. Oh, it'll be the third one that's going up this week, actually, because of me not being able to do them for 2 weeks previous. I just want to like catch up on them a little bit. So like I said, you know, don't use the Ouija board for like the 9th or 10th time, but I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to drill it into your heads, and those that are on the forum saying I'm going to use it, I'm going to drill it into your heads through this podcast. Do not use one. I'm going to say it like 4 times. Do not use one. Do not use one. Can't stress that enough. Do not do it. You will regret it if you tap into something. That's all I'm saying. But like I said, you know, I enjoyed this podcast. I banged on again. But like I said, I like to keep them lengthy. You know, it's interesting, you know, hearing other people's stories about stuff that's happened. That's why I've done it for the last like two episodes, because you know it's interesting hearing, you know, other people's stories and what's happened. It's like, oh, you know, just like, you know, getting a little bit of info more on like a subject. You know, if you're interested in that subject, you know, you want to hear like other people's like stories. That's why I said, you know, if you've got any stories, like message me, because you know it's interesting to hear about, you know, other things. You know, when people like that don't believe in it, and then, you know, you're hearing other people's stories and that, and you know, you're giving them proof that it's actually happened as well. You know, it's quite an interesting thing to, you know, learn about. So like I said, you know, the next episode will be about aliens. I'm going to tell you about a little bit, because there's a couple of stuff that I've happened which is really wacky back home, which I've experienced, which includes, I don't know if it was UFO, which I saw on more than one occasion, and there was some really I've got evidence of it. And also, you know, I'm with the next podcast, what I'll do with that alien one, I'll link it in and I'll put those videos if I can find them, because they was on my old hard drive, so I'm hoping that isn't corrupted, because I haven't used it in years. All the stuff is on there. The stuff, it's really weird. I mean, I didn't fake it. You can tell it's not, you know, I've not made it up. It is weird. So yeah, I'll link all that in with that next podcast. So, you know, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this, you know, my own personal experiences. You know, I hope it, you know, it makes other people believe in it, because I know a lot of people that just believe it's bogus, like, oh, it's fake, it's people just pretending to be possessed, it's people pretending. It's really not. After everything, it is really not. I mean, so, you know, I hope, you know, it does make more people like believe in it, and you know, it stops people doing stupid things like these Ouija boards and all. It like stops them doing it, because they're bad. They really are. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry yet again for blagging on about stuff, but like I said, the next episode will be that alien one. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you again in the next podcast.